Let's imagine a character for today. Her name is Samantha. Samantha has been a very headstrong girl since her early teens. Besides, there were no possible areas where she didn't have significant achievements. Be it studies or extracurricular activities, she was good at everything. Everyone saw her making strides and how she just stands out in everything that she does. But eventually, behind this very perfect exterior of hers, she was living her life in constant anxiety, having panic attacks every now and then. She also had this very weird habit of showing off her achievements and derogating people. And for years, she was being this cold, cutting, arrogant human being until one day, hell broke loose. Samantha was doing everything that she could to keep the flow of her success intact. But something, somewhere wasn't working. So she was stuck in a job that she really didn't like, thinking she was being undervalued there. That was also at the time she was forced to take major responsibility for her father, who's been on life support for quite some time. While everything was up in the air, she just hears that her husband was cheating on her and seeking divorce at that instant. She simply felt like dying, as every storyline she had about her life seemed to fail. The very suicidal Samantha, being absolutely crushed by everything happening, finally gained the courage to seek professional help with one last hope to live. Her therapist, Dr. Ahmed, was very gentle with her, as he could understand the severity of the trauma she's been going through. So much so that he decided to listen to her case with real importance, and he gave her extended time so that she doesn't lose hope for living. But at times, Samantha needed drugs to feel stable, and at times she also needed cognitive behavioral therapy. That's because whatever trauma she faced dug out the traumatic events she's been holding on to all her life, and it started all from the childhood. And then months went by, and somehow Samantha makes it to a stable position, despite going through a divorce, losing her father, and eventually being stuck in the same job. By that time, she managed to accept the losses, but she wasn't healing. Rather, she was barely surviving. Dr. Ahmed got confused, as something was seeming very odd to him. He wondered what makes us stuck in the same feedback loop of depression. That's when one day he got the answers to his question. Samantha shares with him that this whole time in therapy, she basically wasn't following any of the practices and instructions Dr. Ahmed suggested. Rather, she was choosing unhealthy coping strategies to cope. It's because coping seemed easy to her, and she thought that way everything will be okay. The reason she was visiting Dr. Ahmed was to put on a show that she's been choosing a healthy life. In short, her attempt at healing was almost like an achievement for the show, and she never attached it to her heart. This story doesn't have a happy ending, unfortunately. She keeps coping with her unhealthy behavior without listening to anyone, and eventually one day, an overdose took her life. You might wonder, why couldn't the doctor heal her? It might be the doctor's fault. But the reality is, Samantha did not heal because the healing ultimately is an inside job, and the road towards healing requires the best of your honesty. If you don't remain honest with yourself while pursuing healing, then unfortunately, the consequences that come with it damage you and you only. Like in our story, we can see Samantha. If you can't have an honest look at yourself, then no matter how many drugs you take or how many seemingly healthy practices you learn, it will be of no use. Healing is crucial, and nobody can run away from their inner demons forever. At a time and point in your life, you will eventually need to make peace with whatever part that you have within yourself through healing. But healing requires brutal honesty on your end. Otherwise, nothing can heal you. It all eventually begins with you. Be brutally honest to yourself, and you'll see how everything seems to fall into place.